CPI came out higher than expectations. Welcome to today's mortgage market update for May 12th, 2022.
Wait, but Rebecca, it came out at 8.5 and to 8.3.
I know, CPI went down, but it actually was hotter than expectations. We were expecting 8.1.
But core reading, which strips food and energy, declined from 6.5 to 6.2.
But we were expecting 6.0. You see, the month-over-month CPI numbers were up 0.3%, and the core reading was up 0.6%. Yes, it is possible to decline year over year and go up monthly. Let me show you how that is. So this shows you the past 13 months consumer price index. And normally when you hear the consumer price index, which had been at 8.5%, what it does is you add up the past 12 months. So we added up April, May, June, July, all the way through March. We literally just added up what each of those months consumer price index was. And then when we got the consumer price index on Wednesday, we got a new number for April. This number for April drops off. So we lost April 2021. So while yes, the overall month-over-month reading the overall year-over-year reading went down, we still had inflation for the month of April. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what you have to be really careful of in the news, we're hearing a lot about how we hit peak inflation. If you look at May and June here, these are pretty high numbers. And then you see this big dip here. So let me show you a second graph. You see again where we actually have on this graph the numbers of what the upcoming months are. So we're going to be replacing May and June with likely lower numbers than what we had in May and June of 2021. But then come July, August, and September, you're probably going to have higher numbers. So I hate to tell you, we are in for a summer of inflation. So don't get too comfortable yet. I honestly don't think we're going to hit peak inflation until we get September's numbers, which won't be until the month of October. So I'm sorry, folks, just hang in there. We're not through this yet. The good news is we have Fed meetings coming up in June, July, and in both June and July, they're probably going to raise the federal funds rate by another 50 basis points, another 0.5%. And then in September, we'll probably get another 1/4 to another 0.5% in September. And when they do this, this will help lower the inflation rate. When you raise the federal funds rate, it helps lower inflation. So hang in there, it's coming. And then there's one other thing to keep in mind. See this? It looks like a beautiful painting, doesn't it? Do you know what this is?
No.
No clue. Well, Danielle, this is actually the mess in Shanghai. This is in Shanghai right now. Everybody, because of COVID, is locked up, right? They can't even go to the grocery store. Do you realize certain government executives are bringing bags of rice around to each resident that lives in Shanghai? So this is the port of Shanghai, and these are all the cargo ships that are waiting in Shanghai. The green dots are ships that are waiting to go back out to sea, and the red dots are all the ships waiting to be unloaded. So crazy, right?
Yeah.
So you wonder where all your containers are. They're currently sitting in Shanghai. It looks like what California looked last year, right?
Yeah.
So pretty bad. But that is currently what Shanghai is looking like. So inflation is, I do think it's going to come down, but it's just, we're not through it yet. It's going to take a little bit longer. And speaking of inflation, we did have one other piece of inflation that came out today. We had the producer price index. So we had the consumer price index, which we just spoke about, that measures inflation on the consumer side. Now we have the producer price index, which measures inflation on the producer side. So what it costs them to make our goods for us. And it rose by 0.5% in April. So it was actually hotter than expectations as well. And on a year-over-year basis, it actually fell from 11.2 to 11%. So it had the same effect that CPI did, where we were replacing a higher number with a lower number. So while inflation still went up, the overall year-over-year number went down. And the good news with PPI on the core rate, again, stripping out the food and energy, it actually rose by 0.4%, which was below expectations. So it actually decreased the year-over-year number from 9.6% to 8.8%. And keep in mind, producer inflation is still extremely high, and this leads to high consumer inflation. So again, producers only have one option, and that is to pass inflation on to you as a consumer. Now, MBA came out this week releasing their mortgage applications. Purchase applications increased by 5% last week, but they're down 8% year over year. And this is still very strong considering the lack of inventory, the higher interest rates, and the higher home prices. Now, when you figure in cash buyers, purchases are actually down 6% year over year, which is really, really good. Now, interest rates are up 2.5%. Compared to this time last year, and the average interest rate last year on a 30-year fix was 5.53%. ARMs have taken a huge increase lately. They've gone up, and they're actually taking over about 11% of the marketplace. And as expected, refis fell another 2% and are down 72% on a year-over-year basis, but are still making up just over 32% of the current mortgage application. So if you have any questions on the current market, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, 717-609-4044, or jump on our website at RebeccaFoot.com. Have a great rest of your day.